All right, so today we are joined by a man who needs no introduction, if you ask me. We're here with Captain Kory Flowers with the Greensboro Police Department. And I can't tell you how excited I am to have a conversation with you, Captain. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, Chad, I appreciate the invite, dude. I always say any guy or gal doing the job, wearing the shield right now, as well as doing things like this that cheerlead the profession, man. I'm a fan, and thanks for doing this. I appreciate it very much.
My plan here is I'm going to go all over the place with you. I think you got a
Yeah,
ton of experience. You've been
sure.
doing this how many years now?
Yeah, this is year 27. I started in the 1900s, so I started in 99, but I get to say 1900. So this is year 27, which is nuts. It's just wild how fast it goes, man.
Absolutely. And so we're going to go all over the place, and I'm just hoping, tap into your experience and
Sure.
buckle up. So
Yeah.
what I'd love to do is, some agencies, depending on where you're at, the command staff has an approach. There's two lines of thoughts that I've seen is our supervisors need to be well-rounded
Yeah.
or they need to be specialized. And I think where
Right.
we see that is you have someone who's the detective and then becomes the detective sergeant and,
Yeah.
the detective captain ultimately. Do you have
That's right.
any thoughts on, not that there's a right approach, but the balance or the thought of being balanced and having your people do things they're not comfortable
Yeah.
with and getting that experience? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a right opinion. Okay. I used to argue with a buddy and he would always say, look, I could agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. And I always thought that was interesting. But no, I have a strong opinion about this, Chad. I have seen, so particularly police thinking from the 90s, I mean, it's like old archaic thinking, is that particularly once a cop passes sergeant and lieutenant, right? Um, that you should be a Swiss Army knife. You should be well rounded. You should be as comfortable running a budget planning and a fleet management planning as you are running a brief or actually hands on doing a takedown. And you should be adroit at all of those things. And I remember, coming up through the ranks, I'm thinking that is like, first of all, there's a lot of things I don't want to do in this profession. I'm built in such a way. I'm kind of like a 9 year old who happens to be 49, in that I like chasing bad guys to this day. Like, I think this is the best job, and I like locking up bad guys. I like placing handcuffs on, chasing, doing takedowns to this day. That's why I got in this gig. But I never understood that. I never understood the idea that you should take a bunch of professionals, professional cops, executive leaders, even, and then you want to build them, spend time and effort building them up in things that they're not naturally great at. Here's a good example. I went into budget and planning for like about 2 years, and I was like objectively not good at it. I got to a point of being competent, and I was helpful, but I was not good at it. I did not enjoy it compared to like policing. But I did it. Did I learn some stuff? Yeah. Was I helpful? Yeah. But what I've thought is this, and I think this makes the most sense. What we need to be doing, like if I was in charge of the world of policing, I would not be building well-rounded folks. I'd be building well-rounded teams. So what does that mean? That means that whatever your chief suite, whatever your cadre of captains looks like, you need like the guy that's tactical minded and has got probably a chest full of medals for all manner of heroic stuff, and the young lads follow that person. Why would you waste any time trying to make him moderately decent at budget and planning, for instance, right? And on the other hand, like I talk about this all the time. I've got a great friend here in the agency, Captain Justin Flint, who is a wizard. Like I think he's actually a wizard. I always wonder when he went to Hogwarts. Like he's a wizard with all things money, budget, fleet, and he's excellent at that. Why would you waste time taking that guy and throwing him into managing undercover operations? No, you take that guy, you find his strengths, and you drive him solely in that direction. And in the meantime, on the other side of the table, you take the guy who's tactical minded and you drive him solely and make him better at what he's built for. Because what always is the case is you're best at what you're built for and you enjoy that more. And enjoyment of your work, finding fulfillment in your work and being productive, they come together. Shockingly enough, like the most healthy teams are the ones that are having fun. If you're having fun, that means you're in your calling, like vocation from the Latin voca, calling, right? You're in the middle of your calling. drive hard in that direction. And I preach that everywhere, but I'm gonna tell you, man, there's a lot of bosses, there's a lot of chiefs that wholly disagree with that, and they believe that everybody should be decent at everything. And I think, why? I don't get it. And again, I'll hedge everything and I say with I've been wrong today. Like I've been wrong 3 times today already, and I'm okay with that. But that's what I believe, man. Take the guys, find the strengths, and drive hard in that direction.
Absolutely. And as I'm thinking back to some of the great teams that I've been on, whether it's been a street crimes team or my narcs team, and I think we can look at the example that you're talking about and see it everywhere. On
Yeah,
my narcs team, we had the person who was amazing at paper. They could
great.
crank out the search warrant in 30 minutes, but
Yes.
that wasn't always the person you wanted doing the interview with the
Nope.
dealer to figure out where the dope's at, where his plug's at, all that
That's right.
stuff. And
Yep.
same thing
That's
could
right.
be said for, well, on that narcs team, we got the tactical guy who's really good at strategy and setting up
Yep.
rescue teams for buys and things like
Yep.
that. And the best teams I've been on and have that balance that you're talking about. And
Yes.
collectively, they're a unit that just becomes, the best they can
Yep.
be.
Yep. And the key is that the boss particularly doesn't over or undervalue any of those roles. That's the key. So the guy you're talking about, the scribe that can write a wizard like PhD search warrant in no time, you praise that guy because other guys can't do that, and they can't do what they're getting ready to do unless he writes that will pass federal scrutiny, even maybe, right? And the same way with the tactical guys, a lot of times these chiefs get the white shirts and they look down on the tactical guys, knuckle draggers, and this kind of thing. And I'm always like, are those the guys doing the work? You understand? If they don't lay hands on these bad guys, we are a law enforcement agency. Like nothing happens. Like we just collects tax dollars and loiter. So yeah, the boss has to see those strengths and praise them adequately because they're all necessary. And if you start looking down on somebody's job that's necessary, you're out of touch. It's not good. You will not have a healthy team long for sure.
Abs- and me being a huge football fan,
Yep.
played football in college, football guy. We're not going to
Yeah.
ask the O lineman to split out wide and go run a post. That's just not their
Great
strength.
example. Yeah. Yeah. Great example. That's
That's not what
exactly
we're going
right.
to do. Well,
Nope.
that's great.
Yeah.
We're ready to shift gears here. So, kind of on that note of supervision and that stuff, with your rank, you've probably sat on a lot of selection processes, a lot of oral
Yep.
boards for special units and other things.
Yep.
What do you look for when you let's maybe
Yeah.
we'll keep it to the proactive units, but when you got an applicant, when you got a
Yeah.
selection process, what are you looking for?
Yeah. So with the proactive units, which is where my career has been similar to yours, Chad, in the heavy on the tactical intel, in motion sides. I've said this for years, man. You can teach the skills, you cannot teach the appetite. And so I look for the guys and the gals with the appetite and the drive and the work ethic. And they could be they could be greenhorn as can be. If we can teach you the tools, I can give you all the tools. But if you've got a positive mental attitude, I've quoted Colin Powell for years. Colin Powell said, optimism is a force multiplier. Like if I get a team of guys that just believe, hey, this is going to work out, like just that is a superpower. So I'm looking for guys who are optimistic. That's very, very, very important to me. Guys who can work in a team environment and that have the appetite. And when I got to clarify this before I get in trouble. Guys is non-gender in my world. Okay, guys, gals, dudes, chicks, don't care. Ballers is who I'm looking for, right? I mean, pros. So hustlers, real cops, crime fighters. So yeah, I look for the attitude, and I've assembled a team. I've been here. I run Vice Narcotics at present. I've got about 20 some detectives, task force guys. I've got a covert tech unit that builds all kinds of sneaky cameras and that kind of thing. And all of them, we've had to pitch some people out of here that didn't fit the culture, and that's okay. Everybody's not meant for everything, right? But yeah, everybody I've got in here, man, these young folks, they are wide open. Like they have a unified mission. I've got a picture I got a picture of a school bus here on my whiteboard, which is people think is goofy. I don't care. But I tell them about every week, I tell them, look, right now, I believe we got the right people on the bus. However, you earn your seat every day, every single day. Yesterday's home runs don't count in today's games, period. So yeah, maintain your seat on the bus. I want you to stay on the bus, but the bus is moving. and it's going in a particular direction. So yeah, and with selection, man, I look for positive mental attitude, go getters, work ethic, and we can teach you all the tools. That is, you can teach a monkey the tools. I want the attitude and the drive. Yeah,
Absolutely. And, I can remember Nick Saban's speech where he's talking about we got to get the right people on the bus and get them in
great.
the right seats, and that's exactly what
Yep.
you're saying. And it's
Yes.
true. We
Yep.
can't ask people to snowmobile in the desert, and
Right.
we got to set people up for success. And I think
Yep.
I've heard you say before that recruit for attitude, train for skill.
Yeah.
And I agree with that 100%. And I've been on the interviewing side of those oral boards where we're interviewing candidates for narcs or street crimes. And a lot of times it never came down to what have they done as an individual, but
Yeah.
what do they bring to this team? And a lot
Yeah.
of times it's, well, they don't have a ton of narcs experience, but you know what? I know this person. They're going to figure it out, but
Yep.
they're going to lift the room.
Yes.
Enthusiasm's contagious. They're not
Yep.
going to create any, it's exactly what you're saying. Recruit for attitude, train for skill.
Yeah.
And I think in my career, and I'm sure you've experienced this more than I have, is you can see the elite individual
Yes.
and they can
Yes.
go out, find dope by themselves, throw
Yep.
great stops, get into cars, but they're
Yes.
like a track athlete. They're out there by
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. For sure.
those people don't get selected for those teams.
No, I mean, this is a team. This is a team. I refer to this as a team all the time, and just like any team, like you can't go it alone for sure. And a lot of times, guys like you and I, this is a fallacy of mine. I will put a little bit more emphasis on the tactical side of the house. But when we're talking about selection and stuff, we built a like a behavioral health response team here in the city that goes out and co-responds with social workers. And I remember even when we were building that and we're talking about how to pick those folks, I told the bosses, I said, look, just like you have a SWAT tryout, right, where the guys or gals put their names in the hat, they come out, they show what they've got. You need to choose as tactfully with things like this because our agency's got 650 cops. There are cops here who have sociology degrees, who maybe have been social, like actual social workers that love that world. Let's find those people and again unleash them toward in the arena of their strengths. So yeah, I think whatever the job is, you hunt those folks because you can find them, and everybody wins if you find the right folks.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah,
you know, the, we got some great stuff going on here. I'm gonna have to, re-listen to this myself to get all the gold that you're talking
this
about
is
here.
good.
So I've heard you talk about the value of a culture that encourages or increases initiative at the line level, from the small
Yep.
things to the bigger things. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about some of the things maybe that you've seen that maybe were originated or started closer to the ground level and
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
started there?
Yeah. I talk to everywhere that I've been, I tell, like right now, I tell my sergeants, I tell the detectives here, and again, I've got a pretty young overall group of detectives. I tell them all, I want you to have a bias for action right out of the gate, right? We're moving towards an objective. Like if you got a target you're working, what's the goal? Every single buy you do, every single follow we have, what's the goal? What's the actionable step? What are we driving towards? And I tell the sergeants, look, um, I want these young folks to operate like way out there on the edge of your comfort level as a sergeant. If they bring you a plan that again is ethical, legal, moral, as long as it's aggressive and assertive, if you're uncomfortable with it, I want you to greenlight it. I want you to be okay with it because that is where we learn the best new thing. Or maybe that's again, if maybe it fails, maybe it's a total failure, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. I had a buddy who was a captain here, one of my best pals, and he used to tell the academy all the time. He would say, he'd quiz them. He'd say, "Look, how percentage wise, how often do cops have to be right in the line in their professional capacity? Give me a percentage. How often we got to be right?" And of course, these young cadets would say, 80%, 90%, 100% of the time. And my pal would say, no, that it's not. Thankfully, that's not the case. We have to be right 0% of the time, but we have to be reasonable 100% of the time. And the cool thing about that is the longer you do this work and the more you do reasonable things, you'll find yourself being right. And that's just a byproduct. So, these young folks, man, these young folks have brought through the captain or through the sergeants and the lieutenant in here some ideas for operational security. It's stuff that hasn't been done widely. I don't want to talk about it on the open internet, but some ideas, particularly for surveillance, that I was like, whoa, like, okay, let me think and let me check myself. I've told them if it's ethical, legal, moral, we're going to go for it. Some stuff that have pushed me to the edge of my comfortability. But I've said this stuff out loud on the internet. I got to say, okay now. And we green light these things. And I've seen some incredible successes with just innovation because everybody wants ownership of what they're doing. And so I tell them, look, you come up with a plan. If you have a problem, you hit your sergeant and you say, this is the problem and this is what I intend to do. Don't just, anybody can whine, but come with a problem and a recommendation and go forward. I used to see patrol guys a lot. Young patrol guys would get real innovative on, every city's got the problem areas, and then even more digitally, like the problem specific corner. A lot of times it's historically been the place. And I've seen young guys come up with some wild ideas on how to address those things that have been very, very effective. And a lot of times it's just the difference is you have to have a valorous boss that will just go with you and be able to be okay eating some of the responsibility should it go in the ditch. But again, it almost doesn't, because it almost never does, because these are young folks that know what they're doing. They're professionals. Like, give them the benefit of the doubt. It's fun to watch.
Something you said there about knowing what works, it makes me think of something that we've all heard, and I'll tell my trainees and things. But second to knowing what works is
Yeah.
knowing what doesn't work.
It's great. Yeah. Roll it out. Next. That's right.
Exactly. And, attaching that to learning moments can be useful. We're so critical in our profession and, want to,
Yes.
sometimes we're quick to shit on each other and be harsh
That's
with
right.
each other. But you know what?
Yep.
That's fun. Hey, second to knowing what
Yeah.
works is what doesn't work. And
Yeah.
there's plenty
Yeah.
of things in my career that I can think of. I can recall that my first shift on solo patrol, they cleared me from
Hmm.
FTO. There's a vice call on the board. It says, hey, somebody's soliciting on Craigslist. This is when we still had Craigslist and
Yep.
people use
Yep.
Craigslist. And so I thought, hell, I've watched the TV shows. I can set up a prostitution sting.
That's
Um,
strong. That's right.
yeah. So I go as a
Look,
one.
tell somebody what you do.
So I go on Craigslist. I find this ad, and I'm a 1 day cop.
Oh yeah.
I get on the
You're a
phone,
task force.
call
Yeah, you're a
this.
task force.
Yeah, I'm a one man task force with 2 hours of experience. Call this
Wow.
number, set up this date. She shows
Yeah.
up. You're under arrest.
Oh, you're knee deep in it, dude. You're knee
Yeah,
deep
I
in it.
brought one
Yeah.
person with me. Brought one person with me. Hook this chick up. Take her back to the police department. And it wasn't even at the time and the place, it wasn't even a jailable offense. So
That's tough.
I wrote that ticket, pressed hard, 5 copies,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
cleaned the streets. And then I was
Yeah.
approached by our intel detective, vice detective,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Hey, good work on that, but have you read our vice policy?" And
No.
I look at
Uh,
him and I say, "Vice policy?
yeah.
Well, first of all,
No.
what's a vice policy?"
Right.
Sure
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
I went and read the vice policy, and it talked about how to correctly handle those
Yeah.
situations. And tell you what it wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't.
You probably strongly violated it if I had to guess.
It wasn't a task force Chad 2 hours on the job doing
That's
prostitution
right.
stings book. So,
That's right.
um,
No, that's great. But again, again, that's the spirit. So you got the spirit. That guy's just saying, "Let me give you the tools." He's not saying knock that off. He probably recognized guys got the spirit, need the tools. I remember just a quick story. I was thinking through innovative ideas that were just almost laughable but effective. I was a bike cop in the downtown area for a couple of years. I was a sergeant, and we would when we have a bunch of clubs downtown on the weekend. It gets very violent. A lot of armed gang members come into the clubs, and so we recognize that they're bringing their guns to the clubs, but they're not bringing them in the club. They're in their cars. So we would when the clubs got full. 11 o'clock, midnight or so, you'd have parking lots, a sea of parking lot of cars of gangbangers. And we would just start plain view peeking the cars. and we'd find guns. Of course, it's easy to do, and then we'd do a little background running the tags, and we'd find, for instance, like, cars registered to a felon who can't have that gun, and we would set up on bikes a takedown, for when the guy came back to the car. But the problem was, like in our state, club dump is like 0200. That's when they stop serving alcohol. So you have 10,000 people at the same time exiting the club, coming to their cars. So the problem was always, how do we, as early as possible, identify the dude that's coming to this car? Because we care about this car. And one of my guys said, hey, what about if we put a traffic cone on the top of that car? Because think about it. One, who's the only person that's going to take a traffic cone off of that car? It's the guy who possesses the car. Further, we can all see it. In a parking lot, we can see roofs of cars and we see one gigantic reflective cone. And further, the guy will stand there probably for a minute and look at it and say, why in the world is a traffic cone? And we perfected that. I bet you we did that. I bet you we did that 50 times and made federal cases, federal firearm cases. We'd go and put a traffic cone on top, and there was no orientation. Everybody on the radio is like, where's the target? It's the one with the traffic cone. Who's going to take the traffic cone off? The dude that's about to get in it. And that was beautiful, man. It's
That's
just slick.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. The creativity in this job
Love it.
is really endless.
Yes.
And it ranges that's a brilliant idea, and I'm dying
Yep.
laughing over here hearing about that. And it sparks things we've all done, but really having a supervisor and being able to think out of that box is
Yep.
critical. And
Yes.
and the creativity on stuff like that. I mean, it's a wide range. It's from, hey, this guy, I can remember a guy with some serious warrants selling his car on Facebook Marketplace, and and he thinks he's slick because his social media is not under his name, so
Oh,
he,
yeah.
so he, sure,
Wow.
we're on a burner account and we'll buy your
Yep.
car, meet us
Oh,
at the
yeah.
gas station,
Oh,
and
and your guys are all over that. Like, they know more about you than his own mother. Like, he has no chance. It's almost not fair.
it's but yeah, there's some, I can remember on the creativeness. So back when I was in Narcs, we had a dealer who, the guy lived in a trailer park. It was impossible to get any kind of
Yep.
GPS or get in there to throw a GPS on his car. And when
Yep.
he was moving around town, he was quick. He was from place to place.
Yep. He
We
was
we
good.
had no opportunity. We tried for like 2 weeks to get a GPS, and finally we said, "All right, we're gonna throw a Hail Mary here. We're going to wait for him to be at a part of town that's maybe not well lit by traffic, by lights, street lights.
Yep.
We're going to have our street crimes throw a traffic stop on him, and we're going to blind the hell out of his car, backlight the hell out of it with
Oh, yeah.
all of our lights, and I'm going to army crawl up and apply the damn GPS in the back of
While
the
he's sitting
back
in it.
truck while
While
he's
he's in
sitting."
it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So
That's great. That's
so
smooth.
how it played out, biggest one of the biggest adrenaline dumps of my career, because I'm like, I
I
don't know if
bet.
this is gonna work. So they
Yeah.
pull him out, get him to the front of his car, so separate him
Yep.
even more from his car, and
Takedown lights on,
take
real
down
bright. Yep.
everything on. And I'm
Great.
army crawling from the passenger seat of this marked unit that I got in. Army crawl up there, get up there, think, throw this army crawl back, and we
So
got that
slick.
thing deployed.
They give him a warning, kicked him. He's like, man, I had a good night. That's slick.
Yeah, that was a
Dude,
close one. That was a
that
close
is,
one.
and that is why, with all the talk about AI taking over jobs, that's why we never have to worry about this, because this is an art and not a science. Like, that's art right there. And I hear about stuff like that, man. That is super cool.
Uh,
I'm gonna tell that story. That's a cool story.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
those
great.
some of the best stories come from those special units, but some of the funniest
Yeah,
stuff comes from patrol. And
for
you
sure.
know um so jumping back into some of our stuff here, um as a sergeant, or even higher in your position, how do you decide what deserves public praise or
Yeah.
recognition?
Yeah. So you're talking about public, like within the PD, like
Or
within the body here, not
cor-
out in the streets. Yeah.
correct, yeah, briefing or amongst team, things like that.
Yeah. I tell you, man, I praise everything. And I get, over the years, people have thought it'd be, have said that's goofy and that kind of thing. But I tend to, I think I got a pretty good beat on human beings. And I hadn't found one yet that doesn't like to be praised. You of course, like, praise and flattery are two different things, right? Nobody does that. I'm pretty notoriously hard to impress. But I get impressed all the time. And when I do, man, I make noise about it. Like, for instance, when I was the patrol captain in a police district here, and we were very big on, I have an employee of the month board there. Everybody that wins the employee of the month, I put their picture there. I put the write up of what they won it for. I put several big, humongous cork boards on the walls of this substation, and I would tell guys, you get a gun, you get some dope, print a picture of it, write the case number, put it on that board. I want to see that. I'd go to lineups, man, and I like giving stuff out. I'd print T-shirts and hats with our logos, and cigars were real big. I've always given away cigars. I'll put the Police District 2 logo on the cigar, and I give out cigars. But I'll come into the lineup when everybody's in there. And look, no big speech. That's not the point. Look, hey, pal, that was a great pop last night. Good catch. Here, smoke this on me. And stuff like that, man. It's important, and it's the same logic that I'm built the same way. I like to be praised from people that I respect when I've done something praiseworthy, and that's normal. My kids are the same way with anybody. And so what is I think what's a good healthy formula is this: we're real quick in our profession to criticize. I mean, we will Monday morning quarterback and criticize other guys and gals that wear the shield that we've never even met across the country. We're real quick to do that, but we're way slow to praise. I mean, I think a healthy balance that should be at least 50-50, right? But I think even better, like let's praise and give a lot more grace and criticize when it's absolutely necessary, and it's probably somebody we know that we're coaching. But yeah, praise the folks, because I mean this. I've said this before. What's going on all across the country today, right now, while me and you are talking, is miraculous. There is a 22-year-old cop in your city right now, in my city too, that will drive out to a domestic disturbance call. They'll get invited into somebody's house that are, maybe two old folks that have been married longer than the cop's been on the planet. And that 22-year-old cop will coach them through it, and in 6 or 8 minutes leave, and leave it better than they found it. And that's a miracle, dude. And that, if you don't think that needs to be praised, you're out of your mind. I'd give medals for that kind. It's amazing. What holds this country together is these men and women doing this. So take a minute and note it and praise it. I'll tell you one thing that I've done, and everything I do is stolen. I don't come up with anything. I'm not that smart, but I steal good ideas from smarter folks. I review every report that's written in this city every single day. And it takes 15 minutes. And I specifically look for case reports that are written within the last 24 hours that were proactive. So anything that's a call generated, I don't really care about. But when I read a report that starts with, I was on routine patrol and I observed, right? And anything that starts there and yields with an arrest, like a gun, some dope, I will send that cop an email that same minute. I'll CC their whole chain, and I give them a one-liner. Great job, badass, excellent pop. Keep it up. Keep your foot on the gas, because that's amazing work, and we should respect it.
That acknowledgement is invaluable, and I think as cops, we're the worst because we pretend we don't like it and we say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I don't want any of that." But we're human and we like it.
Yep.
And
Yes.
one thing I think we could do better as a profession is having that peer to peer
Yeah.
recognition,
That's good.
that public praise. Because here's what I've seen it do: is when you have, let's say, a patrol team or a group that's willing to shout out the good work of your teammate, it's equity in that person, and it
Yeah.
also makes it a little bit easier when you have
Yes.
to approach them with a tougher conversation, because
Yep.
you haven't been all heads and no tails.
Yeah,
So
you
that
get a certain permission level. That's right. Yeah, and you've seen this, Chad. You have a great case, and you get an email from the chief. Hey, good job. Yeah, that's cool. But if it's one of your older mentors in the profession that respects it and is like, dude, that was a great pop. You'll hang on to that forever. It just carries more weight because that's a person you've sweated and bled with doing this work. But yeah, I agree, man. Everybody's like, I don't want any attention. No, further, we have in every agency, you've got Memorial Week or Police Memorial Week where they give out all the awards and the medals for the previous year. If you're a first line boss and you're not writing up as many awards as possible, like, you're out of your mind. Those guys and gals will charge the gates of hell to win a little medal to stick on their uniform, and they'll stand up taller. I've always said I want my teams to be like stumbling out of the awards banquet under the weight of all their new medals. I want them to be clanking because I want to recognize their work. Because again, it's miraculous. Just put in the work, write the award. It takes 5 minutes, and then send it. My word, why are we not doing that?
And we can be creative on the recognition. Here's an example: is when that person on your patrol shift, or they get that really crappy call, maybe they're stuck directing traffic for 8 hours, is
Yeah,
what, they've fallen on the sword, so what, I'm going to print them off a certificate
great.
on Word document, and it's going
Yeah,
to be sword award, Kory
it's
Flowers
great.
for standing 8 hours. And we're going to
Yes.
have fun with it. We're going to acknowledge them in briefing, or the
Yeah.
person that volunteers for that, that sex assault call. That's, hey, I'll
Oh,
take that call. You can send that to me. It's like, man, you just fell on the
yes.
sword. The next
That's
day,
good.
they're getting the sword award in
That's great.
briefing.
That's great.
And
Yep.
what I've seen that do is, when that call comes across the board, or that cruddy situation, in your mind, you can't help but think, hey, I might get the sword award for this. It
Yeah.
might not be that
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. And
And
your boss is paying attention. Like it's not going unnoticed. I mean, so much of that stuff goes unnoticed because it's not sexy or sensational, but somebody's got to man that traffic post or go to guard duty for 6 hours, but that's the unfun but necessary work. You got to recognize. I like that, man. That's sharp. I like that a lot.
yeah. So switching gears again, there's a book that I read that I listen to a lot of books because I read
Yep.
slow, and I
Sure.
got a lot of gym time and driving time. I'm listening to it. So
Yeah.
in the book Turn the Ship Around by David
Yeah.
Marquette. And
Yep.
for the people who aren't familiar with that book, that's a great book written by a submarine captain who essentially really changed the culture on his sub. And he talks
Right.
about in the book about how they had this culture of asking permission for everything. And
Mm,
he found that it bothered him. So he sort of changed the culture, and had his sailors, basically, when they were going to do something, instead of asking permission to do this, permission to do that, he made them state their intent. And
mm.
if there was an issue, he would then jump in. But
That's great.
he talked about, hey, I want you to tell me what your plan is, basically, and if there's a problem, there's a problem, but tell me what you intend. And I've heard you
Yes.
kind of talk before about empowering,
Yeah.
your officers and your sergeants. Talk to me
Yeah.
about the importance of, not being micromanaging and
Yeah.
empowering people to have ownership.
Yeah, micromanagement, it assassinates morale. It just assassinates it. There's nothing worse. Nobody likes that, whether you work at Walmart or McDonald's or a police department. It is the worst. These are adults, and further, these are professionals. Don't look over their shoulders. I've told even the sergeants in here. They would come to me for similar permissions on needing to buy stuff or money stuff, up camera upgrades or surveillance devices. And I told them, look, if it's under $500, guys, don't even ask me. You know my intent. The intent is the mission. The mission is to put bad guys in jail. If it furthers that mission, if it makes that boat go faster, spend it right now. I'm not going to, you don't have to ask me. You know my intent. It will not change. I am very predictable. I had a guy, I remember this when I was on watch commander 4 or 5 years ago. As a watch commander, you're working through the night and you're pretty much in charge of all the patrol functions for the city. You operate with the authority of the chief of police. It's a fun job, but you get a lot of calls, and a lot of calls from just a few sergeants who are either insecure about making a call, or they want to, for liability's sake, they want to run it by you. I remember one night I had a sergeant call me, and he started the conversation with this. I answered the phone. He said, "Hey, LT, I know I don't need to call you for this, but," and I hung up the phone. Like I just dead nuts hung up on him because in my mind he's made his decision. 3 or 4 minutes later, I didn't call him back. He called me back. He's like, "I think we got cut off." I said, "No, we didn't, pal." I said, "I hung up on you. I'm helping you to make this decision. You started our conversation with, 'I know that I don't need to let you know about this.' You said that. You said that out loud." I said, "Look, pal, I trust you. You've been doing this job. You're a professional. You're a shot caller out here. You're an OG. If it's going to not let you sleep until you run it by me, you can feel free. But I bet you're right. I bet what you're thinking is already correct. I trust you. You need to trust yourself." And he, of course, he told me what he's going to tell me anyway. But I tried to, instill that in him. Like, look, I trust you. I'm going to give you ownership in this, and assume that you're going to do the right thing. Um, you know, I've seen micromanagers, man, and you will see. it's funny to see. I truly believe there's no bad teams. There's only bad leaders. Like I believe that. I've seen stellar squads, patrol squads, with a boss who is a green light person, who he or she just gives ownership, authority to the guys and gals and turns them loose and gets surprised by their innovation. I've seen them get promoted and then some snivelly micromanager come in, and I've watched squads die, like die. Folks, get written up for dumb stuff, of course, transfer out of there, morale goes in the ditch. It's very, very predictable. Human beings want to find fulfillment in their work.
I think that sometimes in throughout my career, what I've seen is some of those newer sergeants, they feel the need to, I don't want to say flex their skills or they're worried about liability, but they
Yeah,
cultivate that culture of micromanagement where everything's
yeah,
got to be ran by them and they got to have a finger in everything. And
yeah,
the culture that creates of your people are essentially figureheads for you, and they're not making their own
yeah.
decisions. Everything becomes, they're just this little robot of the
Yes.
sergeant's thinking. And that doesn't do anybody any good.
No.
Yeah. And
And
that,
it's born from insecurity. It's just insecurity, and like you said earlier, it's ego, which you have to assassinate. Like it has no place here. But yeah, just trusting those folks and turning them loose. I like the sport of being surprised by what they come up with. They call and give you some idea that you're like, whoa, what, wow. Again, it's in within the lines. So yeah, do it, try it. I think
absolutely.
that's I think that's fun. But yeah, some people in policing, and this is not as it should be, but we are a lot of times far too concerned with liability and not as concerned with things like safety, like personal, like our own safety. But that liability thing really gets in the way sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I've been, I have this social media page and some of this content, and I talk to a lot of cops from around the country. And, you know, a lot of departments, people fail to realize that most departments aren't these huge departments like Greensboro with hundreds of cops. They got 50, they got 20, they got
Yes.
10. Um, what are your thoughts on the importance of people and officers realizing and remembering we're in a customer service industry and
Yep.
to not lose sight of that?
Yeah. When I took over the patrol district here years ago, I told the guys, I said, look, there's three rules to working here. One is make this an enjoyable place to work and be likable. And if you're not likable, how about impersonate somebody who's likable? And pretty soon, who knows, a miracle might happen. You may find yourself being likable. Two is always tell the truth, even at your own detriment. And number three is don't forget, we serve those folks. We serve. This is customer service. We serve at the pleasure and direction of the citizens of whatever jurisdiction, and we have to remember that. That's super important. I was talking with a guy the other day, and he was just fleshing out the idea that don't forget, at 22, you show up on any given call in that uniform, you represent everything that's safe and orderly and just in the world to a victim of a crime or an old lady in a traffic crash or a teenager in some kind of real traumatic situation. Don't forget that. That's really important. And how we interact with them will paint how they look at all cops forevermore. You hear a lot of times folks that are real down on cops, and you have a real conversation with them. A lot of times it boils down to like one crappy interaction like 20 years ago. And it just reminds you like the power of that conversation. Chad, where you're at, you represent your city. Like you're it. You're the face of the city when you're dealing with somebody on a call. I'm the face of the city of Greensboro when I'm dealing with somebody in my professional capacity. And I cannot lose sight of that. That's really important. The whole us versus them warrior mindset, like there's a place for that. I mean, the world is a dangerous place. There's some violent people in it, but for the most part, most of your police work is going to be with either law-abiding citizens or folks that are doing crime just out of a couple bad decisions, maybe panicky. They're not evil people, but you have to enforce the law equitably. And don't forget, you are a representative, and it's important to remember that's a big responsibility. Don't forget it.
Absolutely. And we all have those calls that maybe we don't feel are as fun or they're not as
Yeah,
significant.
yeah,
And and I got to remind myself of these sometimes, but we got to be thankful that we live in a country where people can call the police for these
yeah.
things that we feel is insignificant.
A
Um,
miracle.
at
Yeah,
my department, Castle Rock, we have a one by one policing model. And basically what that says is we're going to serve our folks. one by one, as
It's
if
great.
when we are on the call with them, we are their cop, their problem is our problem, one by
Yes.
one. And
Yes.
that investment in that approach to it, it's great. It's
Yes.
a huge investment into our community. And
Yes.
if that person only has, most people only have a couple interactions with police their entire life.
That's right.
And if you can roll into that and make someone feel like maybe we didn't solve their problem, but we can still hear them. We can still
Yeah, we
listen.
listen. Yeah. Yeah, you go to the doctor's office, you don't wanna be shuffled through by your doctor just checking a checklist and getting you through, and I respect that greatly, man. I love that, from your chief or wherever that came from because a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, call response time will suffer to a degree if we give our people freedom to just have a one-on-one." That's okay. That's okay. But you're gonna change. You're gonna do what you're dealing with right now with excellence, and you're gonna leave that interaction. That person's probably a fan of not only you but your agency and your city, and that's a better investment than blasting from call to call, taping stuff up. Just managing things. That's slick, dude. Whoever wrote that up, like I'm a big fan of that. That's great.
Yeah, our chief Jack Cawley, he's kind of
Great.
the godfather of one by one policing. But even
Hmm.
where I think this is easily applicable is, like I said, not every department has 500 cops. Is those calls that maybe it's by phone? Dispatch
Yeah.
says, "Hey, the RP wants contact by phone."
Yep.
I mean, is it going to take 8 minutes to drive over to their house and have an in person conversation with them?
Right.
And
Right.
so the customer service part of this job, I think we got to do a better job of keeping that in the forefront of what we do as
Yep.
proactive guys. We all want to go out, we all want to chase dope, find warrants and things like that.
Yep.
But we we got to accept that we can do that stuff when we've handled what we need to handle.
That's right.
And this job, and this was hard for me as a young cop. I mean, 4-year cop, 3-year cop, just want to stop everything that's moving.
Yes.
Is that it's not about me, and
Yeah.
this job isn't about what Chad wants to do or what Chad likes to do or what I
Yeah.
think is worthy of a police, call or response. That's not what it's about. We're
Yep.
here to serve people, just like
Yeah.
when we go to Chick-fil-A, when we go to Chipotle, they're
That's right.
serving us. And we've
Yes.
all
Yes.
we've all been on the receiving end of shitty customer service.
That's right.
And
Yep.
we remember that far quicker and
Yep.
longer than maybe some of the good customer service we've
That's
had.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is blue collar. I say it all the time. This is blue collar work. Don't forget. Don't get high and mighty. Like that's why I'm wholeheartedly against the white shirts for the bosses because I don't even like the image of it. This is a blue collar job. It's serving the people. Don't forget. Like this is a sweaty job. This is a toiling job. We're not politicians up here. This is blue collar real work. Don't forget. Yeah, and further, one of our daughters works at Chick-fil-A, and I just like going there because whoever's running the leadership manual for Chick-fil-A, they make little snotty nosed 14-year-olds into leaders. Like it's a miracle. We should steal every tenet that they're teaching there because it is very effective.
I agree. I agree. Um, you know, Shifting gears again here. When I look at our profession, and I haven't been doing this as long as you, but I think in my experience, I think as a whole, we could probably do a better job of developing our younger officers and not leaving their development to
Yeah.
chance.
Yep.
And I saw something on your guys' website, and it kind of inspired this question as um, temporary rotations to a special unit, maybe getting
Yep.
somebody's feet wet. In a perfect world, maybe how you guys are doing it, or in a perfect
Yeah.
world, what do you envision that looking like, in the importance of that for career development?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can speak, directly to it because I have a wait list to come into Vice Narcotics now. Yeah, in our agency, it's called career development. That's what it's called. And you send up an application for the specialized unit that you have eyes on, right? You don't know what you necessarily want to do as a 5-year, 4-year cop, but you're drawn to, gang work, dope work, traffic work, whatever. And you send it up and you get in a little bit of a waiting line. But we'll bring in, recently we bring in like P1s who are between a 1 and 3 year cop, brand new. That's okay. We bring them in here. They dress like us, drive what we do, and we throw them right into the mission day one. And they'll work typically 30 to 60 days, depending on what the caseloads are looking like. And you take P1s and even newer P2s. they learn the guys. First of all, a lot of times my folks don't ever get seen by the patrol guys. They learn the guys. They learn a whole new facet of police work. They like a 2-year cop will spend 45 days in here. They'll write tracking orders for vehicles. They'll write pregnant search warrants. They'll do a lot of writing that no other patrol cops get to do. And further, we treat it like a tryout. Like I'm always looking for new talent. So, these guys come through on a regular basis every 45 or 60 days. As soon as they leave, I'm having a roundtable with my folks, and I'm like, what y'all think? Y'all like that guy? He'd be a good fit. What about her? She'd be a good fit. But even if they don't get selected here, they take that skill set, which was free, and they take it back, and it's a mushroom effect to their squad. And it, without fail, within a couple weeks, when these youngsters leave here, I'll see on the 24-hour summary where they wrote a search warrant. Like they, on a patrol call, they stumbled into a dope house or into a house, smelled weed, saw something in plain view, locked it down, wrote for it, ding ding. And man, of course I email them and tell them what a great job that was. But everybody wins. And like you said earlier, it on occasion I've seen where folks get into what they've thought they would like and they didn't like it. And that's just as fine too. You don't want to waste your time applying to a unit and then winning the spot and then finding out you dislike it. So it is the coolest. It's one of the coolest things we do here. I love
I
it.
I think that's awesome, and I can hear people now. Well, staffing and things like that, and you got to make it work. But you know what? Where there's a
One
will,
guy. Yeah,
where there's a will, there's a way.
that's right.
And I forget who the author, but there's a book, another military leadership, Surf While You Can, and he said
Hmm.
something in there. He said people first, mission always.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
And
good. Yep, that's good.
and you take care of your people, it
Yes,
starts there. The mission
that's
will
great.
take care of itself. And can
Yeah,
can a patrol team be okay one short? We'll figure it out. They'll be
yeah.
okay.
I bet you they'll be fine for 45 days. But the benefit, you have that temporary sacrifice. They come back to you. A lot of times they know stuff that sergeant has never been involved in, and they'll help them walk through it. And that is cool as can be. And the neat thing, the goal, anytime I have a guy or a gal come through here on career development, the goal is always to, within their time, I want them to end with writing their own search warrant, briefing the SWAT team like a big hit. That's the goal. Doesn't always work out, but sometimes, a lot of times, when they'll leave, if we keep working their case and it comes to fruition and we're going to hit it, we bring them back. We invite them back. Look, we call their sergeant. Look, can he run with us this morning? We're going to have an 0400 briefing. We're going to hit the case that he was working, and it gives them that positive reinforcement too. So it's only win for sure.
Absolutely. Um, Throughout some of the stuff that the shows that you've been on and the things you've talked about, you've commonly referenced, one of your favorite books. I got it right here. Call Sign Chaos
Great.
by
It's
Jim
great.
by Jim Mattis, and I appreciated it because I'm always looking for new stuff, and
Yeah.
you've banged the table for it. So
Yes.
um, there's some as I started getting through it, I realized quickly why you appreciate it so much, and also some of
Yeah.
the things you've said. I realized the foundation is coming from
Oh,
here.
it's all stolen, dude. Yeah, you can take that, get a vat of highlighter ink and dunk that whole book in it. There
Yeah,
you go.
you're
Save the
just gonna
time.
have you're just gonna be highlighting every page. So
That's right.
some of the one some parts in there I wanted to chat with you about is one part of the book, he talks about how he's made many mistakes, but
Mm,
that the mistakes were part of his tuition and
that's good.
a necessary bridge in order to learn to do things right. I thought that was
That's good.
genius.
Isn't that
Um,
great?
do you have any thoughts on that as it relates to our profession and
Yeah.
learning?
Yeah, it keeps kicking back. We've mentioned ego and how deleterious it is many times. That is spoken from a man with no ego. I have made mistakes and they were necessary. Yeah, that's the whole point. The only person that never makes mistakes is somebody who doesn't do anything. I mean, again, we talked about the micromanaging sergeant earlier that holds everybody to this perfect standard. Well, what that teaches me as a young guy is, well, got to be perfect, got to never make a mistake. That means I'm gonna sit on my hands. I'm gonna respond only to what I get called to, and I'm gonna do the bare minimum. Because the less I swing, the less chance I have to make an error. But yeah, you hear Mattis as one of the greatest war fighters that we've built as a nation, and he says, "I made a bunch of mistakes. They were all necessary. They were painful, but they were part of the evolution of who I am." That is, man, I'll take that all day, and it takes the pressure off. God, there's enough pressure. I mean, when I tell the guys, look, I've been wrong today. I'm able to say that honestly every single day. I've screwed something up already today. It's okay. We can, we're going to be fine. Like, let's go forward. You don't have to be perfect.
It really ties into something that it's a quote from Albert Einstein, and he basically says something along the lines of the only source of knowledge is experience.
That's great.
And and how true that is. You can spend 10 years studying a map, but until you've lived in the land,
Yes.
you know,
Yep. Yep.
and I think Mattis also said in there, and it's a famous saying, but smooth sailing teaches nothing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Further, the ship's not built for the harbor. That's not the point. Like you can build anything to float, but yeah, it's made for the waves, and that's really important, man. And further, it's I've quoted you. It sounds like you're far better read than I am, but I enjoy reading too and quoting things because there's so much knowledge that is just free there. But further, this job, F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby, and he said he was talking about policing at one point, and he said what it provides is a riotous excursion with privileged glimpses into the human heart. Like that's our profession. That's why they make all the movies about it. That's why even everybody, including Ice T, wants to be a cop. Like everybody, because this is the greatest job. And so, yeah, why are you going to sit safe in the harbor as opposed to let's go out there and make some robust errors together that are legal, ethical, moral, and then all a good boss should say is don't do that one again. We learned. That's okay. Go make another ethical, moral, aggressive mistake. It's great. It's fine.
And I think if we look back on some of our, you mentioned earlier that about going to the edge of your comfort zone.
Yep.
One, we all know that's where growth occurs. And
Yep.
we all as individuals can probably do a better job of recognizing that some of our greatest accomplishments, some of our biggest jumps in our skill set probably occurred when we were really uncomfortable. And we
Yeah.
need to recognize that the uncomfortable is really just a cue for growth.
Yep.
And and that's our sergeants need to see that. Our sergeants need to kind of dial that in and push people that
Yes.
direction of discomfort, because that's where the
Yeah.
growth occurs.
Yeah, you got that introvert on your squad that, push them out front, make them run squad training, right? Talk in front of their peers and then escalate that and have them, brief a team pretty soon. I mean, and that's true for all of life. My wife and I were at a marriage conference recently and the guy said, what about the idea that the hard stuff was the most important stuff? What about if we saw life that way? Because it is. The hardest stuff is the most important stuff. It's necessary. It's what forges steel. It's very important. So yeah, I think, and that's key, man. You continually push yourself and others out to the edge. You will definitely grow. That's great. You were spot on with saying that.
Another thing that I really appreciated, Mattis said, and I still got to get through the book because I started it like a week ago, and I'm
Yeah,
you know how it is, but I got still a
yeah,
lot to
yeah.
get through. But he talks about how a leader's role is problem solving, and if you
Yep.
don't like problems, stay out of leadership.
That's right. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Man, again, something else I've stolen. I walk around here and I say, "Give me a problem to solve." I say that all the time. Give me a problem to solve. Give me a problem to solve. And the cool thing is, a lot of times it's dumb stuff. It's little stuff. When I first got to District 2 as a patrol boss, I hit all the lineups and stuff and met everybody. I said, "What do y'all dislike? What do we need to fix?"
Mhm.
And like 5 different people said, "It's hot in the gym." And they kept, and I said, that's it. Like, that's it. And so I went right into the office and went on Amazon and bought a big old industrial moving fan. And it was $200 and it's still in there. And like that solved 5 people's problems because you asked. But yeah, give me a problem to solve. It's great.
And the small things are the big things.
Always.
The small thing,
Always.
enough inches added up can cover any distance.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
when we can solve the small things, they add up. We don't need the big.
Yeah.
Hey, we all want to make 10 more bucks an hour. Yeah, that's a big thing. We
Yeah.
all want take home cars for the departments that don't have take home cars. Those are big things, but the little
Yeah.
things make big ripples.
It's always, you're right. It's always the little things. Like we had I remember we had a chief one time that downtown at our police headquarters, you got all these parking spaces. A lot of them are assigned. And the closest one to the building was marked for the chief spot because that's normal, I guess. He did away with it, and he put a sign that was for the District One Officer of the Month, and you park there. If you're the Officer of the Month and you've been working here for 3 years, you're gonna park there for 30 days. It's a little thing, free morale. We talk about me and my buddy Captain Anthony Price. We talk about free morale all the time. That's free morale, but it's the little things. But that's humongous when people see that the boss giving up his prized parking space because a young lad had a good month, like that's a big deal. Don't forget.
Similar on that note, so I recently transferred to my current agency, and one of the first things I noticed was in our parking lot, the absolute furthest spot away from the building. You can't get any further. There's a spot for the chief, and it
How
says
about that?
chief, and
It's
I
marked for the chief.
it says chief, the
I
furthest
love it.
spot away, and so I took a picture of that, and I sent that to his all of my buddies at my prior department. I said,
It's
just so
great.
you know, this is the furthest spot away. And in line with what you were saying, it's the small
Yeah.
things. And that I
Yes.
thought that was awesome. And it's the little
God,
things.
man. Dude, I work for that guy right now. I don't even know this guy. I should know this guy, but I'll come work with it for this guy right now.
I'm gonna have,
Because he sounds like he cares for y'all. He cares
yeah,
for the folks. What a
a-
novel idea. It's beautiful.
absolutely. And I need to get him on here. But yeah, it's been there's a deliberate effort into culture that I see, and I see a lot of it hasn't been said like this, but the people first mission always, we came
Yeah,
here or I came here, and they give you an hour to work out on duty every day, and
it's
wellness
great.
is important, and
Yeah,
all
we
of a
do the
sudden,
same. It's a big deal. Yep.
and you got your crew working together, your team working
Yep.
together, you're building morale. It's rocket fuel
Yes.
for everything
Right.
else.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
Before I get you out of here, I have some random Q and A's here, some random questions for you.
Yeah.
So we'll rapid fire some of these, and
Okay.
here we go. So since you're in Narcs, have you got a pair of Vans yet?
No, no, because it's the same reason I don't have a tattoo. I'm far too much of a rebel at this point to have a tattoo. I've been wanting one for about 20 years, but I've never gotten one, and I've finally decided I'm and this ain't good, but I'm pretty anti-authoritarian overall, just in life, which has not always been the best thing. But no, dude, I take great pride in having a really really stupid style. All of my guys wear Vans. I typically wear Chuck Taylors because I'm from the '90s. Or I mean, I wear cabbie hats. I wear whatever I want because I'm 49 and I don't care. I think Vans are super cool, and I know that I'm not that cool, so I'm
So
not getting.
a couple years ago, we went to a narcotics conference in Reno, and it was CDIA, like California Narcotics. I forget the acronym, but we go to
Yeah.
this convention. It's all narcs, and me and my buddy Josh, we're looking around. We have Vans on, and we see 1,000 narcs, and we all look the damn same. We're wearing Vans,
Yeah.
flat bill hats,
That's right. That's right.
and
Burning
t-shirts,
out
and
sunglasses. That's yeah, exactly
we're,
right.
we might as well, we look around, we're like, we might as well have a neon sign that we are all narcs. We need to change something because
Yeah.
this look is predictable.
But it's
um
always been like that. When I was coming up, if you saw a 40-year-old man in the world with a slick shaved head on purpose, a long, like aggressive goatee and earrings, that was a cop. I mean, that was just the look.
yeah, yeah,
But that's
they were weed grows, they were busting weed grows back then.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, with blue jean
uh
jackets. Yeah.
Absolutely. Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Denim over denim. That's
So
great.
do you have a beverage or drink of choice while you're working?
Yeah, while I'm working, I drink. I don't. I dislike water. I don't drink enough water. I do a lot of. I'll put something in the water. So I've learned I've learned for years you're supposed to drink a lot of water. I don't like it, so I'll flavor it. I've got it on the desk here. I've got all kinds of powders and stuff that I'll get at the stores to put it together. I'm a big coffee guy. The first half of the day, I don't drink it after lunch, but coffee is super necessary to get the day going for me.
We just, I wanted to make sure you're human and you're not just, I drink water and chicken and rice for lunch every
Heck
day,
no. No, no, no. I love ice cream. I'm a big ice cream guy. I run every day so I can eat whatever I want. That's kind
That
of like
that's right. That's right. You've
yeah,
said that you work out
yeah,
every day. Got to get that workout in.
yeah, that's right.
Um, is there an assignment or a collateral assignment or something that you didn't get to experience as a younger cop that maybe you wish you had?
Yeah. I mentioned Captain Anthony Price is one of my best pals here. We joke between me and him that he always gets the jobs that I want. Like he's had three different jobs since we've been lieutenants that I wanted. And one of them was, and this may sound a little, I don't know, nerdy, but he was as a lieutenant, he got named executive officer to the chief of police. And what that job was intended to be was you moved around with the chief, which guys like me, I don't care about that, but you spoke for the chief, you wrote for the chief, you answered questions with the media, you represented the department forward facing, and I love that. I like interacting with even confrontational folks in the public and media. Like I like because I can defend this job, and I like that. So that was one that I always wish I think I would have become more of a polished guy, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea. But he got that job, man, and he had it for a year, and I never got to do it. So that's the one. Yeah.
um, we got a couple left here. So, what advice do you wish someone would have given you as a new sergeant?
A new sergeant, yeah. I'll say this: I didn't get this advice until I was a sergeant for a bit, but George, and this is somebody told me this again, all stolen. George Washington famously said, "Listen, look, help, and then lead," in that order. And somebody told me a while ago, as a sergeant and beyond, you are just a force multiplier. Don't you ever dare forget that. If you're sitting in it, there ain't no crime in the office. Crime is afoot, and it's not in the building. Go forth and fight crime. You can do that, believe it or not, as a sergeant, as a lieutenant, as a watch commander, as a captain. So don't forget, no matter your rank, you're a force multiplier. That's a big deal. Further, if you got morale problems on your squad and they see the boss working as hard or harder than they do, 70% of them will follow you out of pride, like I want to be like the old man. 30% of them who are losers will follow you out of shame, and that's okay too. But be a force multiplier, no matter the rank. This is blue collar work. I think that's real important, man.
That's great stuff. All right, so this one you can have a little fun with this one. This is
Sure.
if you were a chief, Flowers PD, and you
All
can make
right.
one thing happen, and maybe it's a moonshot goal or something wild, something not traditional. What's the
Yeah.
one thing you would do?
Wow. Let's see. I'm gonna tell you what I think would be most helpful. And it would be in an effort to like antidote all the social media stuff. I would have a unit because you just said I can have unlimited folks, right? All right. So I would have a unit that did realistic training for the public all day, every day, all year long. Anybody that wants to criticize a use of force, a shooting, or whatever, I would have a unit of like real pros that, oh, you really? Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you don't have to whine online. You can come in and do realistic training. Oh, you work day shift. You can come in at 4 a.m. and work with our realistic training division, and they'll run you through that scenario. They'll run you through it with simunitions. You want to see? Let's just see, and then let's see your opinion. I think that could be revolutionary. We could never do that because we don't have enough people. But I would have folks that just train the public for no reason other than to give them some, hopefully, some new dose of empathy. I think that'd be great.
And I think that kind of piggybacks the value of when agencies do those citizens police academies,
Yeah, it's great.
and so agencies, I've seen it done a number of different ways. We meet every Tuesday for a month and a
Yes.
half, and
Yeah.
then those people, I mean, without fail, they're in awe of the things they learn, and then they go
Yes.
out and they be advocates for the police department. So
Yep.
when they're in that conversation, that
Yes.
sidebar with somebody who says, well, did you see on the news or this post? And they
Nope.
become an advocate.
Yeah, they'll
And
stick up. That's right. Yeah,
absolutely,
and
that's
we do Citizens Academy here, and we put a lot of effort into it. I always go speak to them. But yeah, they go out in the public, and you just create a bunch of cheerleaders. That which is
absolutely.
great. We need that. Yeah, good
Abs-
question. I like that.
so, lastly, I've greatly appreciated our conversation and everything we've talked about. It's been a lot of gold in here. Do you have any thoughts or words for our cops out there, for our people in the
Yeah.
profession that you'd like to leave them with?
Yeah. Yeah, two things, man. And I've told cops this across the country for the last at least 10 years. Anytime I speak to a group or do a conversation like this, two things. One's real important. If I'm talking to a group, and I'll do it here virtually, but I make the room of cops look at me at the end of the day, look me in the eyes. And I tell them, look, as a citizen, not as Captain Kory Flowers of the Who Cares Police Department, but as a citizen of what I believe is the greatest country in the world, y'all don't get enough thanks, and I really appreciate what you do. Like I drive out of town on vacation or whatever, and I see cops, man. I'm grateful. I am just default grateful for what they do because this is a tough gig. Further, I see any guy or gal wearing the gold shield or the silver shield, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt right out of the gate. You're probably a quality human being trying to make things better. So first of all, it's thanks. Second thing is this, and I think this is important. When I first got into this job, even when you first got into this job, Chad, 14 years ago, there used to be a lot of intangible perks to this job. I mean, it used to be, you could wear your uniform home. You could go with your kid to career day at school. You never paid for a meal, free coffee, all the stuff. For the most part, almost all that's gone now, right? Our guys and gals are wearing cover shirts home, and like it's sad. It can be, but this is important. The only perk that still exists that we have something to say about, and we should go to all costs to do this, is that we take care of each other, right? I've met you now. We've spent time together on this call. I consider you a brother. I consider you a teammate in the same team, a brother in the same family, right? And I will take care of you. I love nothing better than, and this happens weekly. I'll get a call from somebody, some cop somewhere in the country that I've met, and they need something, and they'll call me and say, "Hey, I know you're 2 hours from Charlotte, but can you give me a good whatever barbecue recommendation? Can you help me with this case?" I love actually stopping what I'm doing, and I solve their problem and help them out because that's my teammate, that's my brother, that's my sister. Now, the other side of that, Chad, is that if I need something at the toe of the Rocky Mountains, I don't know anybody else over there, but I might call you and I'm gonna say, Chad, I need help with this. My family's coming out there for vacation. Give me some tips, give me some tricks. And I'm not gonna ask real nice, really, because that's family just asks. And I'm just gonna expect you to help me out because
Yep.
we're brothers and we're teammates. And that is I don't care where social media goes, I don't care who the president is. If we maintain that where we care for each other, and that's not covering for each other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about caring for each other, helping each other like a brother, like a sister, like a team. Nobody can take that away. So we
Yeah.
pass that on, man. I hate when I hear about these jurisdictional bullcrap battles between the troopers and the county guys and writing tickets to each other's mothers. What a stupid waste of time. Can we please care for each other? Let's do that. So I challenge all the young lads and lassies to do that. I think it's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, it's been a great conversation. I greatly appreciate your time.
you got it.
I've been listening to your words for a real long time, so this has been a pleasure. And my thanks to you. Stay safe out there, to you and your team.
Yeah,
And I know all the Beyonders out there from my side. We appreciate you, and we look forward to doing it
great.
again. So
Well,
appreciate you.
yeah, you got it, Chad. Thanks, bud.